On a quiet morning in New York City, something happened that immediately unsettled jail officials. Not because it was violent or chaotic, but because it seemed almost routine. A man arrived at a detention facility carrying documents that appeared official. He identified himself as a federal agent and presented what he claimed was a court order authorizing the immediate release of an inmate. At first glance, nothing about the interaction seemed extraordinary. Facilities process court paperwork every day. Officers are accustomed to dealing with attorneys, marshals, and law enforcement agents from multiple agencies. But this visit would quickly reveal how fragile that trust can be. The inmate named in the paperwork was Luigi Mangione, a man awaiting trial in a high-profile murder case. His detention was not a minor matter. Any legitimate release would require verification through multiple channels. Yet the visitor was calm, confident, and prepared. According to investigators, he spoke with authority, referenced legal procedures, and behaved like someone who expected compliance. What jail staff did not know at that moment was that none of it was real. The man was not an FBI agent. The documents were not authentic. And the order to release Mangione had never been issued by a judge. Authorities would later say the attempt failed because officers followed protocol just long enough to raise questions. Verification requests were made, phone calls were placed, and slowly, the story began to unravel. The paperwork did not match court records. The identification raised inconsistencies. The visitor's explanations grew thin. Within hours, law enforcement confirmed what had almost happened. A private citizen had allegedly attempted to impersonate a federal agent in order to remove a murder suspect from custody. The implications were alarming. If the attempt had succeeded, a man accused of a serious violent crime could have walked out of jail under false authority, not through force but through deception. Investigators arrested the suspect and charged him with impersonating a federal officer and related offenses. They began examining how he obtained the documents, whether he acted alone, and whether anyone else had been contacted in preparation for the scheme. What motivated the attempt remains under scrutiny. Prosecutors have not publicly detailed whether the suspect had a personal connection to Mangione, believed conspiracy theories about the case, or simply thought he could exploit bureaucratic systems. What is clear is this: the justice system did not fail because of chaos or corruption. It was tested by confidence, paperwork, and the assumption that official-looking authority should be trusted. And that is what makes this case so unsettling. Not how dramatic it was, but how close it came to working. Luigi Mangione was not an ordinary detainee. At the time of the attempted release, he was being held in connection with a serious violent crime, a case that had already drawn public attention and careful scrutiny from prosecutors. Any movement involving his custody required layers of authorization, documented court orders, and verification across multiple agencies. That is why the attempted release immediately raised concern once questions began to surface. According to law enforcement officials, individuals accused of serious offenses are never released based on a single document or verbal instruction. Even legitimate court orders are cross-checked through internal systems, confirmed with clerks, and verified by supervisory staff. These procedures exist precisely because jails operate on trust that official paperwork represents lawful authority. Investigators would later say the impersonator appeared to understand this system well enough to exploit it. The paperwork was reportedly structured to look formal. The language mirrored legal phrasing. The approach was calm and professional, designed not to alarm but to blend in. This was not a reckless attempt. It was calculated. As officers followed protocol, inconsistencies began to emerge. The order could not be confirmed through court databases. The identity of the supposed federal agent did not match agency records. What initially looked routine slowly became suspicious. Once the attempt was halted, attention shifted from the paperwork to the motive. Why target Mangione? Authorities have not publicly confirmed whether the suspect knew Mangione personally or was acting on behalf of someone else. Investigators are exploring whether the attempt was driven by obsession, ideology, or a misguided belief that the justice system had wrongly detained him. In an era where online speculation and conspiracy theories often surround criminal cases, prosecutors are cautious not to draw conclusions prematurely. What made the situation particularly troubling was how close the attempt came to succeeding, not because of negligence, but because systems rely on human judgment. The impersonator did not threaten, bribe, or force his way in. He relied entirely on appearance, confidence, and paperwork. Legal experts note that impersonation cases strike at the foundation of institutional trust. Courts, jails, and law enforcement agencies function because officials assume documents and credentials are real until proven otherwise. When that assumption is abused, the consequences can be severe. By the end of the day, Mangione remained in custody. The impersonator was arrested, but the incident triggered internal reviews and renewed questions about how secure custodial systems truly are. This was not just an attempted fraud. It was a reminder that the justice system is most vulnerable not to violence, but to deception that looks legitimate. Once the impersonator was taken into custody, the focus shifted from what almost happened to how it was attempted. Investigators needed to understand whether this was an isolated act of deception or part of something broader and more organized. According to law enforcement officials, the first priority was examining the documents themselves. The alleged court order was analyzed for formatting, language, and signatures. While it appeared convincing at a glance, closer inspection revealed subtle inconsistencies, wording that did not match standard judicial phrasing, references to offices that do not issue such orders, and procedural steps that bypassed required approvals. Attention then turned to the suspect's behavior. Officers noted that he had not acted nervously or rushed. Instead, he moved with confidence, as if accustomed to official environments. Investigators believe this composure was intentional. Impersonation cases often rely less on perfect documentation and more on authority projected through behavior. Digital evidence quickly became central to the case. Authorities began reviewing the suspect's phone, email accounts, and online activity to determine how he prepared. Prosecutors are examining whether templates for legal documents were downloaded, whether courthouse procedures were researched, and whether the suspect had previously attempted similar acts elsewhere. Another key question was whether anyone else was involved. So far, officials have not publicly identified co-conspirators, but they have not ruled out the possibility that the suspect received encouragement, guidance, or direction from others. Investigators are also examining whether the suspect communicated with Mangione directly or followed developments in his murder case closely. Legal experts say this step is critical. If the impersonation was part of a coordinated effort to interfere with a criminal prosecution, the consequences could extend far beyond impersonation charges. Obstruction-related offenses carry significantly heavier penalties. At the same time, jail administrators launched internal reviews, not to assign blame but to identify vulnerabilities. Officials emphasized that staff followed protocol. The attempt failed because verification steps were taken. Still, the incident prompted renewed scrutiny of how outside agencies are authenticated and how quickly suspicious interactions are escalated. What stands out to investigators is how ordinary the attempt appeared until it was not. There were no threats, no disguises, no dramatic confrontation, just paperwork, confidence, and timing. By the end of the investigation's early phase, one conclusion was clear. This was not a prank or a misunderstanding. It was a deliberate attempt to exploit trust inside a system designed to assume legitimacy. And that realization raised an unsettling possibility. If this attempt was carefully planned and nearly worked once, it could be attempted again elsewhere. As details of the failed jail release became public, prosecutors moved quickly to formalize charges against the man accused of impersonating a federal agent. According to court records, he now faces multiple felony counts, including impersonating a federal officer and attempting to unlawfully interfere with a criminal detention. These are not symbolic charges. They carry real prison time. Legal experts note that impersonating a federal agent is treated seriously because it strikes at the credibility of the justice system itself. Courts, jails, and law enforcement agencies rely on the assumption that official authority is genuine. When that assumption is deliberately exploited, the risk extends far beyond a single case. In this instance, the consequences could have been severe. Had the attempt succeeded, a man accused of murder might have been released without judicial approval, potentially compromising public safety and the integrity of an ongoing prosecution. Prosecutors argue that intent matters here, not whether the plan worked, but what it aimed to accomplish. During early hearings, authorities emphasized that this was not a misunderstanding or paperwork error. The suspect allegedly presented himself as someone he was not, using fabricated documents to trigger a legal outcome he had no authority to request. That distinction is critical. It separates negligence from deception. The court is also considering whether additional charges could follow. If investigators determine that the suspect coordinated with others, attempted similar actions in the past, or sought to obstruct justice knowingly, prosecutors may pursue enhanced penalties. Federal law allows for harsher sentences when impersonation is used to influence criminal proceedings. Meanwhile, the case has prompted broader discussions within the justice system. Jail administrators and legal officials across the country are reviewing procedures for verifying external requests, especially those involving high-profile detainees. While officials stress that safeguards worked in this case, they also acknowledge that confidence and paperwork remain powerful tools when abused. For Luigi Mangione, the attempted release has not altered the trajectory of his murder case. He remains in custody, and prosecutors insist the impersonation effort will not affect the evidence or proceedings against him. Still, the incident has added an unexpected layer to an already serious prosecution. Ultimately, this chapter of the story is not about theatrics or spectacle. It is about accountability for someone who allegedly tried to bend the system using nothing more than authority he did not possess. And as the legal process continues, the case stands as a warning. In the justice system, deception may appear subtle, but the consequences are anything but. When the attempted jail release failed, the immediate danger passed quietly. No alarms were triggered, no dramatic chase followed. Yet the case left behind a deeper concern, one that goes beyond a single impersonation attempt. At the center of the story is trust. The justice system depends on it at every level. Court orders are assumed to be legitimate. Agents are assumed to be who they say they are. Procedures function because most interactions are honest. When that trust is abused, even briefly, the consequences can ripple outward. What makes this case unsettling is not just the boldness of the attempt, but how ordinary it appeared. There was no disguise, no force, no chaos. Just paperwork, confidence, and the expectation that authority would not be questioned. Investigators say that combination is often more effective than threats or violence, and far harder to detect. Legal analysts note that impersonation crimes have become increasingly sophisticated. In an age of digital templates, online court records, and publicly available procedures, it is easier than ever for individuals to mimic official processes. The line between legitimate authority and a convincing imitation has grown thinner. For jail officials, the incident reinforced why verification matters. The system worked not because it distrusted everyone, but because it paused long enough to confirm. That pause, routine but essential, prevented a serious breach. For prosecutors, the case serves as a reminder that interference with the justice system does not always come from within. Sometimes it comes from outsiders who believe confidence and paperwork are enough to override law and process. As for Luigi Mangione, his legal situation remains unchanged. He continues to face the charges that brought him into custody in the first place. The attempted release did not weaken the case against him, but it did highlight the attention surrounding it, and the lengths to which some individuals may go to alter its outcome.